Hello, and welcome to Common Sense with Tom Schmitz. I am Tom Schmitz, and I want to thank you for joining us today. My guest on today's show will be Sheriff-elect Billy Woods. It is Monday, December 12th, and with that, I'm going to send a special birthday wish to my younger sister, Lorna. Happy birthday, sissy. Just want you to know I love you and I'm thinking about you. The mural is almost finished. This is the artwork of Rebecca Harvick. So yes, just a few more days, and the paint cans and belongings that are below us that some of you can see and have texted in will be gone, but we'll have a beautiful mural of Ocala and Marion County, some of the highlights of our area in its place. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm certain those of you who went to the Hawthorne, listen to me, see, I'm talking about where I went. Those of you who went to the Ocala Christmas Parade had a grand time. I was once again the MC for the 9th year of the Hawthorne Christmas Festival, and I was humbled and very proud to be asked back for the 9th year to the Hawthorne Area Chamber of Commerce Christmas Festival that took place this weekend. I want to remind everyone that you can also watch any of the Common Sense with Tom Schmitz episodes that you may have missed by going to commonsensenet.com. You can also interact with the show live by texting 352-389-1222 during any live broadcast. And now, the reminder that we have to give you that the views expressed here on this show are those of the host and the guest only, and in no way reflect the thoughts or opinions of the CEP, the Power Plant Business Incubator, the City of Ocala, or Marion County. With that, I will now welcome in our guest, Sheriff-elect Billy Woods. Sheriff-elect, good to have you in this morning.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, Tom. It's an absolute thrill. It's always a thrill to talk to you. So,
let's talk about campaign season. Was it what you thought it was going to be? Was there things that were different than you thought originally when you decided to run for election?
Well, let's put it this way. I have a new profound respect for anybody that runs for office. You learn a lot. That's anything in life, because I ran for 23 months, was the campaign when I filed for 23 months. You learn a lot about people, individuals that you thought you knew. You also learn about the process, about getting out here and knowing your public and meeting the citizens. That's probably the most, and somebody asked me that down the campaign trail, I forget what interview it was, what is probably the most disappointing thing of which it had. We have just right at 359,000 residents in Marion County, and wanting to meet every single one of them, that is a tough task in a county like this. And I think you've said it before, the county, we're the 5th largest in the state of Florida. We're bigger than in the state of Rhode Island. And there are places in this county, even myself as a long-time resident that my family is I didn't know existed. So, but it was learning, it really was.
People forget sometimes that the Putnam County, Marion County line up in Orange Springs, 315, 310, all that area, that's still Marion County right up there.
Absolutely, it is.
And there's places in the southwest part of the county that I've never been to because it's a very big county. It's the 5th largest county in the state.
It is.
And it's a very big undertaking. But you and I off air when we were doing the pre-production meeting, when you talk about officers, sworn officers on the road, there's not much difference size-wise from the Marion County Sheriff's Office and the Ocala Police Department where you were a lieutenant.
Well, if you look at both agencies, the Sheriff's Office and Ocala Police Department, and we're only talking about the law enforcement side.
Just the law enforcement.
You take out corrections, you take out the jail. The two agencies are comparable. The Sheriff's Office does have a little more than 200 sworn individuals. Ocala Police Department has 170 sworn. You look at the two budgets, the Ocala's budget is around $32 million. The law enforcement side of the budget of the Sheriff's Office is right around $34 million. And that's just the law enforcement side that we're talking about, but yeah.
So let's talk, before we get into you winning the election, becoming sheriff-elect, fixing to take over very soon, let's talk about your time at OPD. A lot of people during the campaign season said he's a city cop, he doesn't understand the county. Which I don't understand. If you lived in this county long enough, you understand the county just by living here as a resident, as a citizen. But what are some of the significant differences that OPD had that you may not have at the Sheriff's Department?
Enforcement-wise, there's no difference, okay, between municipality and a county. We all enforce the same laws. We enforce the same traffic laws. We uphold the Constitution. We both take oaths. Some of the significant difference we've already mentioned is the jail. You know, that's a huge component of the sheriff's office because municipalities, they got rid of municipality jails. I forget, in the 70s or the 80s, you know, before I even started. But that jail itself is a huge component, you know, because the sheriff takes the responsibility from the county commissions throughout the state of housing the inmates. Budgetarily, it's huge. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is you're required by law under corrections to have a certain amount of corrections deputies, corrections assistants per inmate, and you can't go below that. So when a vacancy comes, those vacancies have to be filled. You can't let them slide, nor can you let those numbers get so bad that you're out of control, because you look at it. If we don't take care of the jail itself out here, we're failing our citizens. Our citizens want the bad people to stay in the jail where they're supposed to, and if we don't have the right amount of men and women, that's going to hurt our community. You know, we take on emergency management. The sheriff's office took that responsibility, you know, when asked by a commission years ago, you know, for the whole entire county. And in conjunction, we work with the state as well. You know, the current captain in there is Chip Wilde, fabulous individual. He's soon to be retiring. I'll be missing him. But those are some of the small areas that's different than, say, municipalities. Now, go ahead, Tom.
Oh, no. No, I was just going to let you finish. That's some of the things with municipalities. You talk about Chip Wilde's leaving. Do you expect there to be some turnover from the top brass with a new sheriff coming in and a new way of doing things, or is that something that happens, or is it next man up and the brass stays where they are? I mean, and I know the top brass. I know the people that were under Sheriff Blair and all that have left the office and on. But I mean, you know, your lieutenants and your captains and stuff. Do they pretty much, depending on who it is, they still do their job and stay? They stay.
And I get asked that question every day since I won the election. And it's the organizational structure. And for every county, for every sheriff to every county, now there's 66 counties elected. There's 67 counties, but Dade County Sheriff is an appointed, it's not an elected. But every sheriff that comes in has the authority to restructure their organization. Majority of your sheriff's office have what's called a Career Service Act. Now, the Career Service Act protects the employees for new sheriffs that are coming in. Makes them permanent employees, with the exceptions of your top management areas where it allows you to put them in new positions, whether it be by reducing their rank or removing them from a bureau to another bureau. And you know, as an incoming sheriff, you are allowed to do that. Like chief deputies. Chief deputies are basically at the will of a sheriff. Incoming sheriff can fire them if they wish. Or leave them in and put them in new places. But typically when a new sheriff comes in, he or she has a structure that they want, and they have individuals they want to be put in place that they think it's in the best interest of the organization and their community.
Well, okay, because there was some talk about budget-wise and all, that it was a little heavy up at the top in past administrations. So I'm going to ask you about the budget, because we know 4 years ago when Sheriff Blair took office, he went to the county commission and said he needed a certain amount of money because the sheriff's department needed it to replace out-of-date cars that were old, had a high mileage on them. And by the way, one of the most important things that you can have that you don't need to break down is a patrol car. He had out-of-date equipment. He wanted to buy some newer equipment and stuff. So he came out with a budget that caught some people off guard. So my question to you, and answer it how you see fit, is there, in the existing budget, is there enough money to adequately run the sheriff's office and give the top quality of safety to every citizen in Marion County? Or is it something you're going to have more money for?
There are two answers, and you hit the key word, adequate at the moment. It is adequate at the moment, the funding in there. And the safety, our citizens out here should never be concerned about their safety, because our deputies out here do a great job. There are fine men and women there that constantly, regardless of their pay, they still will protect our citizens. They will put their life on the line out there for them. Good men and women. In the budget itself, it all comes back to managing your finances and knowing where funds are needed to go. And one of the biggest things that's been an absolute help, and current interim sheriff Gainey is doing, a good job of making sure stuff are in place. The sales tax, and you mentioned the vehicles. Part of the sales tax is that in place is a 3 to 4 year plan of replacing those vehicles out of the sales tax. So that's a benefit. Part of that sales tax is a lot of the infrastructure of the organization, it's outdated and needs to be replaced. So using the money to correct the problems in which you had is the key right now. Not spending it on stuff that little trinkets or items that I want. You got to do the needs first rather than the wants. I've said that on the campaign trail, and you've got to focus those funds in that direction, on the needs. Infrastructure, the phone system. I know it's been before the county commission. A lot of citizens out here have heard the board, or the sheriff and myself have been before the board about the phone systems throughout the districts. It's outdated. It expires in 17 and needed to be replaced. That's something that should have been done years ago. I'll tell you right up front. You don't wait until the 11th hour to go replace something that's outdated, especially the phone system. If that system goes down, communication's gone for people calling in, your computer systems, backup data, and all that. So those are some of the things. You will have to ask for more money. This county, we have 0.9 deputies per capita, per 1,000, and that's low. It really is. The city is right at, caught me off guard there. I think they're at 1.9, for their officers. You like the average, you like to be close to 2 to your citizens, so you're going to have to ask. It's just a matter of how you do it. You don't walk in and ask for $17 million right off the bat. You can have future plans. You can have a 4 to 5 year plan and say, look guys, this is what we need. We can get there in 4 to 5 years. Let's lay it out. And building that rapport with the commission is probably the biggest key. And I think who we have on commission sees that and knows that. They want to get out there and reach and help their sheriff's offices. They know it's vital.
We have had some in the recent past. We've not been very lucky as a citizenship here in Marion County to have a controversy-free sheriff's department. That's the nicest way I can say that. And it started with the election 4 years ago, where one candidate withdrew. The other candidate, who eventually won, was then indicted during his term as sheriff of Marion County. Some of his people quit. There was some discussion about the lack of control over how deputies reacted to citizens. We saw some videos, and I know that videos don't tell the whole story. I want everybody to know, when you talk about these videos, some of these salacious videos that you see out on the internet, what you have to see is, have they been edited? Did you see the raw video? But we have seen some raw video of some things. So at times there have been some issues of trust with the citizens of Marion County and the sheriff's department. Is that one of the first things you as sheriff you're going to try to bridge, is to get the trust back to the men and women in green?
Absolutely. And I'll keep saying it every time somebody interviews me and talks to me. There are good men and women at that agency, has been and always will be. There's just a few out there that do something wrong. But unfortunately, those few is what makes us all look bad. And yes, maintaining the trust with our community. Marion County is unique. I'll tell you right now, because even all the issues that are occurring throughout the United States, the citizens of Marion County still, at this moment, still trust their law enforcement officers, their deputies in each of the cities. And luckily we still have that, and we need to maintain that. And yes, that needs to be a focus. But it starts at the leadership, and that's where it needs to be, making it clear from the leadership on down. Look, I'm nothing special. I'm just Billy Woods, and I hold the office. I just sit in the seat. It's the office of the sheriff. It's the men and women there, not Billy Woods. It's not me. I'm nothing special. But as a leader, I have a responsibility to make it clear that to the men and women of the sheriff's office, that we have a responsibility to our community and our citizens, and we must maintain that trust. Law enforcement is the hugest, especially with the sheriff's office. Myself as a constitutional officer, I have that responsibility of upholding the Constitution, and we must keep that in the forefront always.
The balance of being the sheriff, because that's a politically elected position. So by definition, that makes you a politician. Billy Woods, the politician, which the Billy Woods I know, politician is not a word I'd use with him. But you're also a law enforcement officer and have been for almost 30 years now?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, 27 years.
What have you had to do to make the adjustment to know now you are a law enforcement officer, but you wear a political hat mostly now instead of even though you wear a badge, you're not in the day-to-day. When you were lieutenant with the OPD, you put people in handcuffs, you took people away.
I did.
You
yeah.
booked people into the jail. That's going to change for you. Has you started to see that realization yet?
I have, but I think that's the exciting part of this position because you have a unique, as sheriff, you have the unique opportunity to bridge that gap to the citizens to your law enforcement personnel. And having the law enforcement experience and knowing the ins and outs you can convey to your community. And as a politician, unfortunately, yes, you're right. You have to be a politician in this type of a position. But the ability to get out there and talk to your community and be engaged with them so that they know that they see this is the figurehead. This is who represents the men and the women because each deputy is an extension of the sheriff. Not me, the sheriff, okay, in the office of the sheriff. So when they see their sheriff out here and engaged talking to them, they know that he is pushing down with what is right out there. And it's different. Yeah, you're right. I'm not no politician, but having to learn that and get out here and engage it, you know me. I get along with people quite well, and when you are a politician, you have to have that. You have to have the ability to, if I dislike you, I still got to be able to get along with you, and listen. The biggest thing being a leader and being a politician and a sheriff is listen to your community. Listen to what they have to say.
Now, coming from where you came from, you were a lieutenant with OPD. The reason you didn't go past that is at the time when you chose to run 23 months ago, the chief of police, Greg Graham, told you that there would be a freeze on any advancement because he didn't want it to be perceived that he was showing favoritism by making you a captain or a major, both of which I'm to understand would have been in the making if you hadn't have chose to run for sheriff. I'm glad you did choose to run for sheriff. But that was and I know some people say with the recent controversy at the police department that it maybe isn't as transparent as it's been tried to made to believe. But I firmly believe from knowing the inner workings of the police department with Mayor Kent Gwynn, who will be on the show tomorrow, by the way, the mayor will be on with us tomorrow, that transparency was a very big agenda. It was something that was a big focus at the Ocala Police Department. And transparency with the citizens, letting the citizens know at all times what was going on in every aspect, in every community. Is that something you're going to bring to, because it's been said that sometimes the Sheriff's Department might not be the most transparent agency that it could be.
Yes, I've heard that same thing. And that's one of my goals. That's another goal, is to ensure that there is transparency, that we are an open book. Obviously, you've got your reasons out there, investigations. You can't tell everything on a continuing investigation. Child cases, domestic cases. Those are things that you can't. It's the right thing not to do, is not to give that information out. But open transparency, yes. You've got to have that because that is part of the trust to your community. Listen, we all have some form of thought of conspiracy theories out here. If somebody doesn't, they ain't telling me that. I think it's this, We're going to come up with our own ideas. We're going to come up with our own thoughts, okay?
The old adage in the news is if you don't give us a quote, if you don't tell us the
there
story, we'll go find one and write it anyway.
That's exactly right. So, and to help dispel rumors, help dispel the non-truth, why not? I mean, what are we trying to hide? This isn't we're not the CIA, and this ain't no national, huge. If you have an open book where people know what you do, and some of the examples is some of the, the bad stuff that's happened. If there's videos, you bring them in here, as long as you're not interfering with your investigation. Let me make that clear. You can't interfere with investigation. Officers, deputies, they all have the same rights as every other citizen out here. And we can't cross their rights just as much as we can't cross yours. And but however, you try to be as open as much as you can, let them see what's going on. And I'll give you an example that I had part of over at the police department. is where we had an individual that we had in custody that was apparently on some type of drugs, and he was having a medical reaction, and he died basically in our custody. Okay, and because they have all the body cameras on them, it was all videotaped. So the officers did everything they could to try to save that individual's life. You know, they took him out of the handcuffs immediately when they recognized his condition. The sergeant instructed him with I've gone blank on that machine. The
defibrillator.
Thank you. Okay, it went through that whole process, put it on there, trying to save his life. And unfortunately, he went to the hospital after medics got it. The individual passed away, but it was because of his reaction to the drugs. But however, because of the circumstances, we knew that people out here would think the cops had something to do with it. The cops did the cause of the killing. So you bring in your community leaders. Here's the video. Before it even got anywhere, the next day, here it is. Let you see what it is. And that community leader looked at the figurehead and goes, "Y'all did everything you could. Thank you very much." Walked out the door, never heard a single bit about it. Because they were transparent, because of opening that door and saying, "Look, this is us. We're human just like you."
Well, you bring up a very good point. You brought up body cameras.
Right.
They were something that OPD has. The last administration sheriff's office, whenever the subject of body cameras would come up, the reason for not getting them was it's not the cost of the body cameras, it's the cost of the data storage. You don't know how much it costs to store the data from body cameras, and you got to keep it, and it's just not cost effective. Do you think body cameras are effective, and are you going to, as sheriff, try to look to a way to implement them for the officers, the men and women of the Marion County Sheriff's Office?
The cameras are absolutely beneficial to an agency. There's a lot of reluctance. In the beginning, there was a lot of reluctance to accept it because people think it's only there to get me to do bad. It's not there necessarily for that. Yeah, it's to be there to ensure that we are doing the right thing, okay, because it's the voice on our shoulder saying, "Hey, you may not want to do that." The sheriff's office already has a program they're starting up of getting the body cameras out there to each of the deputies. The problem with the past is you were asking for so much that you didn't need that much in the beginning. You got to start small. And I've already told you, that's for all this stuff within a budget. You don't start out big. Don't give me, just like you in here. You didn't come in here and ask for every piece of equipment that you could and spend all your money everywhere all over the place. You're building yourself, just like this mural here. You're slowly building it. It takes time. The data storage, yes, that's a huge issue. Here's the fact, is technology is here, laws are back here. Technology is always ahead of our laws. So the laws are always trying to catch up because in evidence, there's a retention period for evidence. You know, you have to keep it a certain amount of days because of the state of Florida's public record law. And because technology is up here, no one thinks legislation, when they enacted this particular law, never thought about this technology out here. Because wow, didn't think about having to hold, and some of the examples, rape cases, murder cases, we have to hold evidence for 100 years, okay? Some of them is forever, DNA is forever. But like the retention of holding that, it becomes over time, it does become a huge expense. But where you can help yourself, there's so many avenues of retaining that digital or electronic information. You know, we've gone from megabytes to, what is it now? We're up to, what do they call it?
Terabytes.
Terabytes, there you go, terabytes now. So there's so many avenues, and that's, as administrators, that's what we have to assess. We have to look at other avenues instead of the conventional way of always storing information. Are there other avenues in which we can store our information at a lower cost? And they're out there. We just got to find it. We just got to be innovative.
About a minute and a half left here with Sheriff-elect Billy Woods. The last thing I want to know about is response time, because there's been some issues because of the 0.9 deputies per capita per population. That some of the response times are less than desirable because it is such a large county. I mean, and there's been issue not with the response time to citizens, but response time for your men and women that need backup, people getting to them in a timely manner. Because if you got somebody out at the Marion County line, Putnam County line in Orange Springs, the response time, you need 2 deputies out there at least.
Oh,
and
absolutely,
I know at times you only had 1 because of the manpower and all. Is that, last question, is response time just as important to you as transparency?
Absolutely. That is a absolute must, because that's everybody's safety. That response time is huge. Now, part of that is ensuring that we get these vacancies filled as quickly as possible, and it's going to take time, because someone goes through recruit school doesn't mean they'll all pass. And once they pass that, doesn't mean they will all pass through field training. So your numbers are going to dwindle. I might hire 25 and get only 6 of them out of it. Okay, that's a little low figure, but that gives you an idea. Response time is important, and reallocating your manpower internally back to patrol, because patrol response time 911 is the primary function of all law enforcement agencies throughout the United States.
Sheriff-elect Billy Woods, kind enough to join us today. Looks like he's got a common sense approach to how he's going to do things. Start small and build. Don't try to get it all at one time. Transparency, very high on his list. The goal of gaining back the trust of the citizenship, very high on his list. I want to thank our guest, Sheriff-elect Billy Woods. You'll come back some other time?
Absolutely. I love being on here with you, Tom.
Once again, thanks to Billy Woods. I want to thank all of you for watching. Remember, you can go back and watch any of these episodes that you may have missed by going to commonsensenet.com. For executive producer Brian Morgan, and for, I don't know what we're calling him back there. He's the guy that makes me look good, Ryan. I'm Tom Schmitz. Have a great morning, everybody.